Two people, including a one-year-old child, have been killed. It comes after a fire ripped through Kennedy Road informal settlement. This is in Durban in the early hours of this morning. More than 80 shacks, they were also destroyed by the blaze, leaving hundreds homeless. Now, it's unclear at this stage what started the fire, which residents say started at around 2 a.m. this morning. As we also understand, emergency services are still at the scene, and relief organisation Gift of the Givers has also responded to provide assistance to hundreds of families that obviously have been affected as we're speaking. But perhaps to get an update, let's just see what's happening. We're going to cross to our reporter Ayanda Mhlongo, who is standing by live in Durban for us. Ayanda, I dare say good afternoon. Of course, this is a developing story given really what has transpired. What's the latest emerging? Perhaps if we're looking at the start of the fire, the motive as well. What information is at your disposal as we speak?
Liesl, very good afternoon to you and good afternoon to our viewers at home. Well, the disaster management teams that arrived here around 9 a.m. this morning are still here at the site. Of course, they're still assessing this damage. What we do know, Liesl, is that around 2 a.m. this morning, residents said they were awoken to screams of people saying fire, fire, fire. And when they ran out of their homes, a fire had then engulfed this section of the Kennedy Road informal settlement, which is one of the biggest and the oldest informal settlements here in the Durban CBD. Of course, this is not the first time that this area or residents here have dealt with fires. This is, in fact, unfortunately, Lisa, one of the settlements that is rather prone to these incidents. Residents telling us that this is now the fourth major fire that has happened in this particular area. But sadly, of course, this time around, as you mentioned there in your introduction, the two lives that were lost, a 25-year-old and a 1-year-old baby. Residents that we've been speaking to, just speaking about detailing last night and how they tried to rush to this particular shack and how they tried to break down the door and the windows and pull the victim out. Unfortunately, it was too late and she then died tragically in that fire together with that 1-year-old baby. So since this morning, of course, it's been really difficult for the residents here. We're also battling a cold front as well, Lisa, on top of what they're now having to contend with. It has been raining on and off, which has been making sort of the situation even worse for them. Let me just step out of shot very quickly for our viewers just to see. Residents are basically now just hanging around waiting for a direction from the authorities in terms of what is going to be happening now. You see in your visuals some young people here as well, these young boys also just trying to pick up the pieces essentially of their lives. People here left with nothing. The victims telling us that they were left with nothing but the clothes on their back. You're talking important documentation, Elisa, your ID books, birth certificates, all lost in the fire. Of course, as I was saying, officials from the various departments are responding this morning. We had the eThekwini municipality, the Department of Cooperative Governance, which of course is dealing with the immediate relief for these people that have been affected by this fire in terms of what is going to happen now. We do know that they are now trying to find halls or facilities nearby that can house some of the people that have been displaced. But as my colleague Japan Matebula was just panning to his right, some of the people are starting to piece together what they can from the rubble and saying that they want to rebuild their home. Of course, government is indicating that from their side help is on the way. But let me bring in now the spokesperson for the Department of Human Settlements in KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Ndabezinhle Sibiya, who was also here early this morning, and he, together with his team, have also now been working, of course, with their sister departments to sort of try and get an assessment of what has happened here. But also what is important here, Liesl, is what is going to be the next step now. So let's bring in Ndabe. The Department of Human Settlements, of course, critical in a situation like this because Ndabe, the biggest thing is now shelter. These families have lost everything, and whilst, of course, other departments will be dealing, Home Affairs will be dealing with in critical documentation, you are now the department that comes in next in terms of what is going to happen to these residents. Ndabe?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. This morning the MEC for Transport and Human Settlements, Bonso Duma, received a call from the distressed families. When I arrived here, he was already talking to the Minister of Human Settlements, Thembi Smelane. We can indicate that there's a roving team involving officials from national, the province as well as the eThekwini, dealing with the issues around the rollout of human settlements, but in particular the delivery of the building material, because that is what is important. The MEC is quite touched by the determination shown by the residents here, working with the councillor Mkhize, to rebuild their lives. But uppermost, the MEC instructed us to meet with the families of the two souls that have departed. We've met with the Zulu family. We are trying to assist them to keep in touch with the elders back in Mzimkhulu. We've also met with the Mbangwa family. They are also trying to assist, to actually reach out to other family members so that we begin to deal with the burial. These are some of the issues that we are grappling with as we move forward.
Ndabe, you've been in government for many, many years, and this particular settlement, you and I know, we've been here, me and you have been here several times in the yesteryears. These people have been here for almost 20, some more than 20 years. And after this incident, they're saying that they have been on the waiting on the housing list. In terms of that, in removing them or getting them out of this informal settlement, what is causing the delays?
Well, I think that's a topic for another day, but, because we are dealing with the two families that have lost their loved ones. But, for the sake of, transparency and accountability, we wish to indicate that last week the MEC had a meeting with Minister Thembi Smelane, the Mayor of eThekwini, Cyril Xaba, as well as teams from the three spheres of government discussing number one, the access to 6 pockets of land that belong to the state, so that we are able to build permanent houses for the families that were affected by the floods of 2022, as well as floods here in eThekwini in February. That's number one. And number two, the whole issue around the enforcement of bylaws, because there were families that were moved from this area to Waterloo, newly built houses there, built by the department as well as eThekwini municipality. They were moved, some of the families were moved to the newly built double-story houses just across Kennedy Road. Unfortunately, some of the shacks that were here were rented out, and we suspect that there are also relatives that moved in here. So these are some of the issues that we have to deal with moving forward, and also on the other side of the coin, you have community leaders that will go around encouraging people to invade land, as well as going to areas where we've already moved people. So these are challenges that we're facing. It's just a moving goalpost, but we want to indicate that what is important is to accommodate the affected families. We've got children that are supposed to go back to school next week. That is why we're working with the Department of Education as well as Department of Social Development to assist all the affected families. Indeed,
Ndabe, what you're saying is actually what we also heard from some of the residents, that people have been moved over the years, but more people will then come in and take over these houses, and some of those affected were in fact renting in this area. So that is indeed something that we did hear from the residents themselves. I just want to move then very quickly, Ndabe, as you're saying that obviously for now you are putting in all the necessary measures to try and assist by providing first immediate relief for these community members, and then of course what will happen in the days to come. I just want to quickly move, of course, Ndabe, we are under severe level 2 weather warning. There's a cold front that has hit the province, and I know your department is also very much involved in terms of other parts of the city, those areas where there are low-lying areas which have been prone to heavy rains and disasters and floods that you've been dealing with. Just give us an assessment, Ndabeze. Has been anything else apart from this tragedy here at Kennedy Road?
Well, fortunately, we haven't received any calls from people in distress in various parts of the province of KwaZulu-Natal. But you recall that last week on Sunday, the team from SABC attended that press briefing. The MEC Sponsor announced that groundbreaking development, the purchase of Unclear Lodge, to accommodate victims of disasters. So we are ready for any eventuality. We are working with traditional leaders and many other, academics, as part of, preparation for any, disasters.
Thank you so much. I'm going to leave it there. I know that you have to join your teams as you continue with the assessment. And Ndabezinhle Sibiya there from the Department of Human Settlement. Of course, Lisa, just taking us through what is going to happen now in terms of the assistance that is going to be provided to these residents. They are going to be moved to a nearby halls until then government is able to decide what is going to happen. And for those that want to remain here, we understand that building material is going to then be delivered for them. Of course, Evil, I must also mention that the relief organizations such as the Gift of the Givers, they have also been here on the ground to provide assistance to those that have been affected by this fire. For now, Liesl, it's back to you.
Ayanda, thank you so much for that obviously succinct update there. We will monitor developments as it continues.